Merry Christmas from the crew of Implicit Bias. It is our final episode before Christmas 2024, and we want to welcome you into the Mr. Lester's Top Secret Podcast Lair. I'm your host, Kevon Bordelon. We've got a great crew for you here, and we've actually got some fun stuff that if you kind of pick it up, you might see some new additions to the TSPL. First of all, we're going to make him say hello because Walker isn't feeling well. We wish Walker, the Implicit Bias pledge, all the best. We hope he feels better. Go home, get your nunu, tuck under your blanket. You'll be good. We want you to feel better. We're looking forward to having you back. In his place is Tug. Aaron David is handling audio. Tug, what's it feel like to be behind the audio controls again?
What's going on, fellas?
Yeah, it's good to have you back.
Back in the saddle, baby.
Like having you on a microphone. Oh, I like that. Back in the saddle. There we are. On point as always. Let me introduce you to the rest of the crew. Let's start at the bar. And we're going to start on your left side of the bar if you're looking at it, because there's something really special you'll notice on the bar. We now have a special place for part of our Christmas present to ourselves here on Implicit Bias. It's a special spot for Deep Blue, the Implicit Bias Infinity Bottle, and the person behind it, Grant Galatas, a.k.a. Kennebra, of William S. Nacall Jewelers, is there. Grant, it's a pleasure to have you back with us on this very special Christmas episode.
It's fantastic to be back. Happy holidays, guys, and everybody out there listening.
Yeah.
Good. I love this display for Deep Blue.
Yeah, I was about to say, you like that?
It is absolutely fantastic, but it's just so tempting.
No,
I mean,
it is Christmas, so you never know what we're going to get to taste on this week's episode, but not yet.
yeah, you might want to put a lock on it. Or something. I've already tried to twist the top over here. It looks fantastic. It's a beautiful bottle, a beautiful display, beautiful bottle. Just come see me if you want your own.
I was about to say, if you're looking for a Christmas present for that whiskey drinker in your life, William S. Nacall Jewelers, great place to get it. Fantastic bottle. It's where it came from, and you can see just how beautiful it looks. Next to him is Louisiana's only certified master tobacconist, as was verified by a listener at the Army-Navy game, Renee, the certified wizard of tobacco. This person actually knew that you are the certified wizard of tobacco. Great to have you with us on this Christmas episode.
So was this person from here or?
Nope. Originally from Baltimore. Full disclosure, Elizabeth's cousin's husband, but he actually listens and he likes whiskey. He likes bourbon. That's what he listens for.
Oh, cool.
And he recognized, oh, wait, Renee, that's the certified wizard of tobacco? Yes, it is.
Sweet.
Yes, it is. Great to have you, Renee. And there's still time.
Great to be here.
There's still time if people want to get stogies for Christmas presents, right?
Oh, yeah. We got 3.5 more days.
3.5 more days. And if you're listening on the radio, you're behind the 8 ball on that.
Yes.
So
it's
make
Friday,
sure.
Saturday, Monday, and half a day Tuesday.
Not that much time
Yeah.
for the last member of the crew here in the TSPL. We're going to call this the Implicit Bias Christmas Eve version because this is the one you're going to get, the last one before Christmas. Caleb, the Rustic Renegade, if you're listening on terrestrial radio, you've got like a couple of hours to get to your shop, right?
Yeah, I want to take time and actually like decompress a little bit and think about important things in life. Like I was just thinking about if Renee was on one of those wizard shows, would you be part of Hufflepuff? Like
I don't even know what that is.
I think
no,
that's a
that was
yeah,
the Harry Potter.
yeah.
I don't know which one I would. It depends on what the sorting hat puts me in.
It's got a puff in the name, so
Yeah.
I thought
yeah.
well, look, if you got to put him in a house of anything like that, I thought his house would be Puff Puff Pass.
Yeah.
That's
No, that's Snoop Dogg. That's
Oh,
not me.
okay,
That's-
okay, not you, Renee. All right, I get it.
different kind of wizard.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, so let's dive into our weekly whiskey. And this is one of those ones that if you're looking for a Christmas present for somebody, you want to give them something, you're like, hey, maybe this is something that they don't know about, maybe they haven't seen. What could we give? What whiskey could be out there that you could find at pretty much any of our weekly whiskey partners, whether you're listening in New Orleans, Monroe, whether you're listening in Vidalia, Ruston, wherever it might be? This is one that should be easy to find. And you're going to get to hear what the crew would rate this, because this is one that it just goes by the wayside all too often. It is this Evan Williams single barrel. 8 years old, Grant, is what we determined. 8 years in the barrel.
You had to do math.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Microphone's the other way.
it'll
Yeah,
tell you
8
when it
years.
was bottled. Yeah, you have to do the math to get it.
Yeah, so 8 years in the barrel, 86.6 proof. But, you know, a lot of people would think, well, the proof isn't that high. Maybe it's not one of those. But, you know, the proof on Blanton's isn't really any more than this. The proof on a Weller Special Reserve, which is so hard to find and people want so badly, it's going to be 80, low 80s, if 86. I mean, so the proof really isn't what matters. What matters are the flavors that you get out of this particular weekly whiskey. So let's start at the bar. Renee, you got the mic. It's pointed towards you. What do you think about this particular weekly whiskey, this Evan Williams single barrel?
It's nothing spectacular, but it's a good drinking whiskey. I mean, it's not rocket fuel. It's a very, very reasonable proof. The color's pretty. It's got a lot of flavor to it. It's a good drinker. It's just a good bourbon whiskey.
You don't get any particular flavors off of it. We're not going to have the argument that has, by the way, copied the heck out of us. I don't know if you've noticed, but like there's a major fast food chain that has a commercial where they are arguing over whether it's a caramel or caramel. There's actually a caramel company that has put that same ad out arguing over the pronunciation.
Caramel.com.
Yeah. Spell it for me.
Or is it caramel.com?
There you go.
But they say both ways.
But the funny part is they are copying us because notice we were doing this 4 years ago.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're trendsetters.
We are. We are. Speaking of trendsetters, let's go to the other side of the bar. He is Grant Galatas. Grant, I'm curious as to what you think of this Evan Williams single barrel.
Yeah, I think I've fully graduated to 100 proof better. It's like a JV kind of whiskey where you drink it, you know, it doesn't shock you. It doesn't make you realize that, look, this is going to be like an arm wrestling match where I want to taste you. I want to feel you. Just almost went somewhere wrong.
I was waiting.
I caught myself. But no, seriously, it's got good flavor. I always try and pull the sweet out of it. I'm trying to get the sweet. I'm sure Caleb will help me with that. But the 86 proof, it sits in your mouth. It goes down pleasantly. It's like a JV beginning of the evening kind of drink.
I'm glad because you almost went there again. It's okay.
I know. It's bound to happen. If I was 2 glasses deep, it would have gotten real bad there for a second.
Yeah. Which might have been more fun. That's why the second hour is always more fun, by the way. But no, so what you're telling me is you like this, but it just doesn't quite hit maybe where you would normally like something now as you start to think about proof and that level, correct? Okay.
Absolutely. But it's funny because like we were talking about before we started, your Evan Williams, your Crown Royal, your Jack Daniels. I never realized they had, you know, the upper shelf kind of stuff. I always thought it was the heavily marketed stuff and I never really liked the taste of that. I haven't tried them recently, but the Jack Daniels definitely has an upper shelf, and it's nice to see Evan Williams has that too, where it's got a really good flavor. It's a lower proof again, but it's just a nice drink.
So we're going to talk about whether this is top shelf or not from this perspective. When we play for the What Would You Pay Championship belt chain presented by Box Drop of Lafayette, we'll talk about maybe kind of where this lands on that top shelf for Evan Williams. But I did, shout out to Chris DeMerg, have an opportunity to truly taste one of the unobtainium bottles out of Evan Williams. It was fantastic. It was their 12-year, which is just nuts. Absolutely delicious.
Good luck finding him.
You're not going to find him. The only place you find him is in Louisville if you go to the Evan Williams Experience. But this, believe it or not, when you start to think about some of those names that you're like, oh, Blanton's is a top shelf, Blanton's really isn't. If you really think about it, Blanton's is not a top shelf out of Buffalo Trace. It's just gotten hard to find. So, Caleb, I'm curious as to what you think about this one, because I'm really getting excited to give my 2 cents on this.
So when you think of single barrel, you don't normally think of Evan Williams. And this one tends to be a little bit easier to find because of that. But you got to remember where it comes from, right? The Heavens Hill and everything else. Like, this is their entry level into their single barrels. And they do a really good job with it when you look at all the high-end stuff they make. And the flavor on this, this is corn, rye, and barley. So it's a nice little blend of the 3. Heavier on the corn. That's where that sweet comes from. On the nose, when I smelled it, I immediately thought of a childhood memory.
Oh no! Here we go.
No, that's a good one.
Here we go.
And when I was a kid, my grandmother made these cookies, and we called them thumbprint cookies. And it was a sugar cookie, a little small sugar cookie, and you would put your thumbprint on it, and you would fill it with. She would use homemade jam, and we would normally do like strawberry. And I get like a sugar cookie with strawberry jam on the nose. I think it's this perfect little medley. So
Okay.
I wrote down thumbprint cookies and explained what it was. And then I get spice and leather on the nose. And then kind of it thins out. And then when I tasted it, the flavor is left field. The flavor does not match the nose, in my opinion. It completely threw me for a loop because I get the sweet, I get the berries in there, I get hints of leather and all that. And the flavor, I got the sweet, but nothing else with it. You know, on the flavor, I got, you know, those little Christmas pine cones?
Here we go again. Is it a Christmas pine cone? Very specifically, that was bought in Opelousas, Louisiana.
No, it's not. It's
only,
not that lame.
only in the Family Dollar located on 190 west of Opelousas.
It's like those little cinnamon
okay.
Christmas pine cones, because I get that in the beginning on the flavor, and then I get heavy wood, but then it's fleeting. It's thin yet oily, and I don't find a lot of finish on this. And the mouthfeel, I was sitting there trying to figure out the mouthfeel, and I want to try this with whiskey, with water and whiskey, because if you drink that without putting it in whiskey, it has the same mouthfeel. The water.
So you just think it's got a very watery mouthfeel, is what you're telling me.
Well, it's just
yeah.
weird. It's a soft. It's like a soft
It
water.
is soft.
Yes. So I think adding some of this water and whiskey to it, it's going to open it up. Even though it's a low proof,
I was about to say at that proof,
I
don't
want to
know.
try it because
But-
I don't know. Like I can taste the water and whiskey. I can taste the foundation in the whiskey.
So
for the
what?
first
So
time.
what you're saying though is, if you put the water and whiskey in here, it's not going to change the viscosity because it's already
Thinner.
that
Yeah. But I
that
think
viscosity of
I
the
think
water.
it'll open it up, and I'm curious
Yeah.
if it'll match the nose more.
Yeah.
So
I'm
here's
gonna try it.
here's what I get on this one. The initial nose, I'm absolutely with you. I get leather on this.
Mm-hmm.
The leather to me is prominent on the nose. The first sip, and now I'm going to go down kind of a Caleb road here. If you've ever had flan in Europe known as caramel custard, there is a thin layer of caramel on top of the custard. But there's also, it's watery caramel almost that's like a sauce that comes out of the pan when you flip it over, because you do it with the caramel on the bottom. When you serve it on the plate, the presentation is essentially upside down from the way you cook it. And the leftover caramel sauce goes over the entire dessert. But it's thin, it's watery almost. That is what I get on this whiskey. It is a thin, light caramel, not a long finish. It goes away quickly. It sits lightly on the palate. It's almost like when we say I get honey on the whiskey, it's almost midway between a watery caramel and that honey that jumps out at me. That's what I get on this 86.6. And what I'm going to compare this to, that's going to maybe make everybody in here go, I either don't know or, oh my goodness, yes.
I'm gonna gasp.
Blanton's. This to me comes across very similar to a Blanton's. About the same proof.
Yeah.
It's a little more thin, so it's not quite as viscous and the finish isn't quite as long, but you can also find it everywhere.
Well, I think that's the big thing with this is you can find them all over the place. And Evan Williams wants to make sure they produce. I mean, there's thousands of these bottles all over because people don't really seek them out because they don't think of it. And man, this is a great Christmas drinker. It's got that cinnamon, it's got that leather, it's got that wood, it's got the berryness to it that I like as well. Like it's all there. This would make a great little hot toddy whenever you're tired of dealing with your family.
Renee?
And it's got the watery caramel. But one of the neat things though, you'll find this because it doesn't have that fancy bottle like Blanton's does. And and I would dare to say this one's probably a lot less expensive than what you would pay for Blanton's.
Well, here's the fun part. It's not necessarily the fancy bottle from Blanton's. It's just that so many people who have maybe gotten into the bourbon game, all they ever hear is Blanton's, Blanton's, Blanton's,
Yep.
Blanton's, 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 Blanton's. I'm not saying Blanton's is bad. I'm not saying it's not a great drinker. It is. But there are so many other things out there
Well,
at that sort of price point and at that availability that Blanton's doesn't have, that guess what? If you invest in some other ones to try, this to me, this is one of them where you're going to go, oh my goodness, maybe I don't need to buy or search or try and find that extra bottle of Blanton's.
Well, it's
well, they're all collecting the horses.
Yeah,
That's what it is. You know, they got that's their gimmick is collecting the horses.
Could
well,
be.
It's you have to go against the grain a little bit. And everyone, when you think mainstream big bourbon, Blanton's comes to mind. And you think, oh yeah, Evan Williams. Yeah, Evan Williams. Yeah, Heaven Hill. Yeah, all these other brands. They have other parts of their lines. And there are so many out there. They're so diverse. And give it a shot. Roll the dice. You
Well,
might find something worth it. Might not.
And most people, when they hear the name Evan Williams, it's like, ooh, that's low grade, cheap.
It's not a plastic bottle.
No, it's. I'll tell you what, the juice in that bottle ain't too shabby.
And-
It's very good.
And let's be honest, the mash bills on these have been around,
forever.
like I'm talking Sandlot,
Mhm.
forever.
Yeah.
Which means that they probably figured out a while ago, hey, we should probably keep this around. We should continue to make this. And at that point, now it comes down to the wood in the barrel, the char, the location in the rick house, the way it ages, the temperatures over those very specific years which it is aging. That's what ends
Well,
up
that-
finishing it out.
That and then running more age on it.
Yeah.
You know, because most of the regular Evan Williams might be what, 2-3 year old, and this one's 8.
Yeah.
And
You know.
whenever these vintage first came out, they were 10-year, and then they had one where it was 7 years and some change, and they're trying to keep it around that 8-year mark just to keep a very consistent flavor because there's such a draw, and they're trying to keep up.
So very quickly, because we're starting to run out of time, Tug has given us the 1 minute finger.
Yeah.
We need to play What Would You Pay for the What Would You Pay Championship Belt Chain presented by Box Drop of Lafayette. And we're going to rate this on the Morse Whiskey rating code. Red, I wouldn't drink it even if it was free. Yellow, only if it was free. Green, I would buy it. Blue, I would seek this out. Let's start at the bar. Renee, what would you pay and where would you rate this?
I would do $45 on this one and a green.
All right, Grant, where would you rate this on the Morse Whiskey rating code and for the What Would You Pay Championship Belt Chain presented by Box Drop, which Renee is going to hold up and show on camera?
I don't know. It's 8 years in the barrel. So, I mean, traditional math, but I don't think it's going to get all the way to that. But I'm going to give it a little bit more. But definitely a green, but I'm going to go 74 on this.
74 and a green. So 2 greens, 74 and 45. Caleb?
I give it a solid green. Man, Renee, you took my number. I don't think it's up there. I don't think they're playing by the rules here. $57.
And you rated this a green. So I'm going to rate this. This is a green for me. And the What Would You Pay Championship Belt Chain presented by Box Drop of Lafayette goes to Renee Girard. This is a $39.99 bottle of whiskey. Imagine that. Renee, you get to put the chain on. You're going to wear it for the rest of the show. We'll come back and have more. Merry Christmas to you, the Weekly Whiskey, and your implicit bias.